5th of August 2020, and we are having a topic for today, that is long run production function and returns to scale. In our previous lesson, we studied about least cost combination of the labor and capital, like how a producer will be able to minimize his cost of production when he is using labor and capital. We use the technique of ISO cont curve and ISO cost line, and where ISO cost line was making a tangency condition with the ISO cont curve, that was an optimum point for the producer in order to minimize the cost of production. That is the least cost combination of labor and capital to produce a certain level of output. So right now we are moving towards long run production function and returns to scale. Keep it in mind, during short run we said at least one factor of production is kept constant and one variable factor was changing in order to see the changes in the total output produced or total physical product. How will it be changing due to the changes in the variable factor of production? And in short run, we studied a law of diminishing returns, like how much additional output will be changing due to the changes in an additional labor or the variable factor when it is added into the fixed factor, that is capital in our case. So now we are talking about the long run production function. So long run production function is that in which all the factors of production are variable and nothing is kept fixed. So can we say in long run all factors of production like land, labor, capital, they have become variable? And the question arises, how long this long run will be? Like after a year, after 10 years, and after 50 years, how much time is specified for this long run? So I can answer you, there is no specified time period which is allocated in order to see now a firm is in the long run. Whenever firm is changing its all factors of production, are variable. Suppose after a year, after 6 months, in small scale we can say with respect to the business or production unit of the last year, now it has changed its all factors. So with respect to last year, now it has changed all its factors. We can say it has been moving towards the long run production. Okay, so continuously if it is changing its variable factor of production, fixed factor of production and variable factor of production, so after some time we will see that this firm is able to reduce its long run per unit cost of production. When its long run per unit cost of production is declining, it means it is enjoying long run economies of scale, and it is now moving towards more long run production function. Okay, so this is long run production function is that when all the factors of production are becoming variable and nothing is kept fixed, we say the firm is moving into long run production function. Now short run production function was subject to diminishing returns, but long run production function, that is subject to returns to scale. Returns to scale means when scale of production is changing, how cost of production is changing for that level of output. So returns to scale mean when scale of production is changing and inputs are changing by 10% and the total output produced by the firm has increased by more than 10%, then we say it is increasing returns. So in long run, can I say in long run, all the factors of production are variable. Factors of production are variable. Nothing is kept fixed. Now capital is also variable. Piece of land is also changed. So when all factors of production are variable, we say This is the long run production function. Now returns to scale means how scale of production will be changed. Okay, and how will it affect the long run average cost of production for the producer? There can be three returns to scale. Returns to scale. When the scale of production is changing, when the scale of production is changing, how will it affect? How will it affect the long run average cost of production? Like if we are increasing the scale of production by 100% changes in the factors of production, now scale has been 100% changed. So how will it affect the cost of production in the long run, average cost of production? There can be three types of returns to scale. One is called increasing returns to scale. Increasing returns to scale, that is called IRS production. Increasing returns to scale. Second is called constant returns to scale. That is called CRS production. And when we talk about the third returns to scale, that is called decreasing returns to scale. That is called DRS production function. So how can we analyze them? Increasing returns to scale and decreasing returns to scale, or constant returns to scale. So first of all, I'm going to do IRS. First is increasing returns to scale. What do we mean by that? When the total inputs, here I say the inputs, that means the factors of production. When inputs are increased, they are doubled, like land, labor, capital, they are doubled, and output increases more than doubled. We say this production function is IRS, or increasing returns to scale. Suppose I say previously you were employing 10 workers, 10 machineries, or 5 machineries and 1 piece of land. Now all these inputs, they are doubled, like 20 workers, 10 machines and piece of land in area that is also doubled. So output, previously it was 1000 units which were produced by the production unit. Now it is producing more than 2000 units, that more than double its output has increased. So in that case, this is increasing returns to scale. In this case of increasing returns to scale, the productivity of factors of production are per unit output of each input, that has increased faster than increase in the cost of production for the firm. As we are increasing the inputs, the output they are going to produce for us, that is far greater as we were previously producing during the short. The increase in inputs, okay, when the output increases by more proportion as an increase in inputs, that is called increasing returns to scale, or IRS production function. So what happens when a firm is enjoying run average cost start declining. So previously, what happens, it was having a short run average cost in this case. So in the next year, when its long average cost has further shifted downward, when we join these points, a long run average cost can be attained. So its long run per unit cost in year one, it was producing this level of output and its cost of production was this. In year two, it is producing this level of output, and when long run average cost of production of the producers that is declining due to the changes in its inputs. Like inputs have been increased, but output has increased proportionately greater than the increase in inputs. So it will be enjoying the long run economies of scale. Why firms are expanding? The reason behind is that they want to reduce their per unit cost of production, and when their cost of production on average that is falling, their objective of profit maximization can be easily achieved. So ultimate aim of the firm will be to achieve the profit maximization. See something about constant returns to scale. Okay. Constant returns to scale, that is the second part of our returns to scale, CRS. When inputs are doubled and output has also been doubled, like output has changed by the same proportion as inputs have changed, then we say it is CRS, constant returns to scale. Okay, when inputs are doubled and the output is also doubled, not greater or less in proportion, we say this is called CRS. Or we say inputs, they have increased by 10% and output has also changed by 10%. By the same proportion as the inputs have changed, by the same proportion when output has changed, this is called constant returns to scale. The scale of production that is increased by 10% or by 100%, but output has also changed by the same proportion. There will be no change in the per unit cost of production of the firm. So in that case, what happens? Our long run average cost of production will have a constant value. Long run average cost of production as it was before the change in inputs, it remains same. After changing the inputs, then we say this production function in long run is having the same cost of production in long run, and it is called constant returns to scale, that all the inputs they have varied, land, labor, capital, and they have varied the output by the same proportion as their inputs are changed. So in that case, we say it is called CRS production function in the long run, that its long run average cost is not declining or increasing. Then we say it is called long run, constant returns to scale. But this is called CRS. So when we talk about the last form of long run production, that is called increasing returns to scale, decreasing returns to scale. Decreasing returns to scale means what? Third level, that is called decreasing returns to scale. Now inputs are doubled. Inputs are increased by doubled, but output, although it increases, but less than doubled. You have increased the inputs by 100%, but output has increased by less than 100%. Our inputs are increased by 10%, but output has increased by less than 10%, then we say it is decreasing returns to scale. Proportionately, output, although it has increased, but less than proportionate change in the inputs. This is what we say. This is DRS, or decreasing returns to scale. So in this case, when output is not increasing by the same proportion or more proportion, but it has increased by less than proportionate change in inputs, then long run average cost of production for the producers, that will also be increasing. Now, the long run average cost of production will start increasing. We say this is now long run average cost. So when long run average cost of production is increasing, we say this firm is facing diseconomies of scale. Diseconomies of scale in long run. That it is not able to minimize its cost of production, rather it is facing managerial problems to manage all those changes in the inputs in order to achieve efficiency. So we say over here, in case of DRS, its long run average cost start rising due to diseconomies of scale or managerial problems of this firm, that a larger firm is difficult to be managed. So in that case, long run average cost of production start increasing. So diseconomies of scale will be faced by this firm in the long run. So we can say a long run average cost of production can be like this and then start increasing. This is long run average cost. Here we can say this is IRS, that once producers, they are changing the scale of production, their long run average cost first of all start decreasing, and then it remains constant to a certain level of production from this area to this one. This is CRS, and after this it start increasing after this minimum point. Although this minimum point is a horizontal shape of the long run average cost curve. So when firms are changing the inputs in order to enjoy the economies of scale, there can be the three reasons. Either firm is having IRS, like its per unit cost of production is decreasing, its outputs, they have increased by more proportion as the changes in inputs, and when inputs and outputs change by the same proportion, then it is constant returns. And when output is increasing but by less proportion as the changes in inputs, then we say it is called decreasing returns to scale. So as we see in our ISO count and ISO cost line, here I took labor and capital. Here I say this is ISO count 1. And this is the optimum production level. This is the optimum cost of production. And when we increase the cost, like here we were producing 1000 units and now inputs are increased, but output has inputs are doubled, but output has increased by more than double. I can say 5000 units are produced now by changing the inputs. So if we join these points, a long run production function can be achieved. All the optimum points of different time periods, if they are joined by a line, then we say this is a long run production function. And during long run, what happens? What we say, slopes of ISO cost lines, they are equal to the slopes of ISO counts. So here I can say marginal physical product of capital over rate of interest should equal to marginal physical product of labor over wages should equal to marginal physical product of land over rent, and so on. The factors of production you are changing. So in long run, all these ratios should be equated, that each dollar spent either on capital or on labor or on land, they give the producer equal marginal physical product. When each dollar spent or each rupee spent on all these factors of production will have the same marginal physical productivity, then we say this firm is achieving long run production function, and it is in the long run. And during the short run, we were taking only the two factors of production, but in long run, we are keeping all factors of production in our study, and their ratios should be equated to each other. Then we say this is the firm. And keep it in mind, when firm is always achieving this stringency condition, its long run average cost can be minimized. And when long run average cost of production is minimized, we say it's achieving dynamic productive efficiency. Dynamic means over the period of time. In long run, it is able to achieve the minimization of its long run average cost of production. And when it's able to achieve the long run minimum average cost point, then we say it is achieving dynamic productive efficiency, as we studied in our chapter number 6. This is, I am linking the same topic with economic efficiency, that in long run, economic efficiency can be achieved by the firm when its long run average cost of production is minimized. And how will it be minimized? When this ratio is equated, or we say the firm will be achieving constant minimum point of, or minimum efficient scale of production. Here I draw again the long run average cost, because that was only showing returns to scale. Here I say, here after this it starts in, this is the minimum efficient scale of production. This is the actually productive efficiency point in the long run. Minimum efficient scale of production means there is no point other than this point that firm could achieve in order to achieve the productive efficiency. After this point, longer run average costs start rising again due to managerial diseconomies of scale, because larger firms are difficult to be managed by the same management procedures or business hierarchy. So we say the firms, they are initially, when they are changing their inputs, they are enjoying the economies of scale, then they reach to the minimum point, and after that they can be facing increase in their long run average cost of production. So that is about our long run production and returns to scale. In our today's class, we have studied how long run production is achieved, and how returns to scale will be showing us different types of production functions and economies and diseconomies of scale, and how long run production function can be achieved. Actually, this should be a three-dimensional. We should be having another axis in order to see how land has changed and how it has its effects on long run production. Because in our syllabus we are having the two axis diagrams, so with the land is not shown. If we draw a third axis, that is z axis over here, then land can be measured on that axis, and then long run production can be more relevant rather than by using the two axis labor and capital of the short run. But in long run, we can have this equation should be achieved by the production process. Then we can say it is able to achieve minimum efficient scale of production or dynamic productive efficiencies. That's all for today. Inshallah, we'll be having another lesson in this week to see different economies of scale which could be enjoyed by the firm, internal economies of scale and external economies of scale. Then we will be moving towards the theory of firm in the form of cost of production and in the form of revenues. Then we will be doing the rest of the things of the market structures like perfect competition, monopoly and other things after doing the cost and revenues of the firm. Thank you very much. That's all for today.